Shipmates, greetings and welcome to INSURV. My name is Commander Roscoe Porter, the Director for Supply and Habitability. And today we have a series of 2 YouTube videos that we would like to share with you, the fleet, to better assist you with preparing for the INSURV inspections. The first video is habitability, some of our top concerns. The second video is food service equipment and specifically electrical safety. For supply and habitability, the number one vital area that we're all concerned about is our supply equipment, specifically food service and laundry equipment. And obviously the more in-op equipment we have, the worse we're going to do when it comes to the overall INSURV grade. We don't like to talk about grades. We'd like to talk about material readiness and the optimal condition and the operation of all of our equipment. But specifically when it comes to food service, laundry, and in the habitability side, physical fitness equipment, if anything is in-op, you get a big 0, no points at all. So it behooves everyone to have as much of your equipment up and running as safely as much as you possibly can. For example, we know on a small ship we have 2 single tank dishwashers. If one of those dishwashers is in-op, you are already 50% degraded. I go down into my laundry space, I have 3 washers, extractors, I have 2 dryers. If I have half of them that are in-op, then of course I'm already at 50% or 75% degraded. However, if all the equipment is up and operating efficiently, safely, you're then going to get as many points as we possibly can give you, with the premise being to make sure that everything is operating in accordance with the tech manual, the Navy standard training checklist, the guidelines. So the more equipment that you have up and running, the better you will do when it comes to the overall operation of your equipment. The other major piece of equipment when it comes to food service specifically is the grease interceptor hoods, or the GIH that is commonly referred to over the heat producing equipment in the galleys. There's a series of MRC cards that we'll be checking as well. Everything from the operation of the airflows to the washdown system to ensure that the dampers are working and the actual Detroit switches themselves trip in accordance with the MRC card. More to follow as we discuss that in the supply video. Whether it's laundry or food service equipment or in the habitability spaces, one of the other main areas that is a significant finding throughout the fleet is electrical safety. We're talking improperly insulated wires, live wires, poor conduit. Electrical safety is a major discrepancy in the fleet that we're concerned with. And more to follow on that as I go on with this brief as well as the next video. As I move over to habitability, there are a lot of components that we'll be inspecting when it comes to the different berthings. Enlisted and troop berthings. Troop meaning if it's an amphibious ship when it comes to Marine Corps on board the ship, also in their spaces. CPO berthing and officer berthing. The bottom line is a rack is a rack. A sanitary space is a sanitary space which means the head, the water closets, which are the toilets, the showers, the wash basins, or the sinks. A lot of little different components as well as there that we'll be inspecting to make sure that they're operating fully. Inside the enlisted racks themselves, with 21 or more racks, there's a requirement to have emergency escape kick-out panels on the bottom of the racks. You'll notice on our INSURV portal we have excellent description and pictures that shows how they're supposed to be labeled and how each of the kick-out panels should be able to be kicked out freely. A typical discrepancy that we see throughout habitability also the spaces is corrosion along the decking and the bulkheads, whether it be torn lagging inside the enlisted berthings, whether it be cracked tiles or in the actual sanitary spaces where water can get underneath, to include also inside the showers, also in the enlisted berthings. A lot of the decks now are Stratica tiles. There are some decks that still have the regular tiles that you wax, but we're seeing less and less of that today, where we have more of the maintenance-free decks, PRC type decking, where a lot of times the sealant is worn, or that can be cracked and degraded as well. But we're seeing a lot of the Stratica decking in the enlisted berthings, so we're looking for degradation to mean that it's coming up, there's water getting underneath, or there's corrosion working itself around the edges, the coaming, or the bulkhead. Inside the sanitary spaces, the shower stalls specifically, there is a significant amount of sealant that needs to go around the different joints, and you'll see a picture of one of those shortly that shows that there's some degradation happening and water intrusion is going behind the bulkheads. It's just one of those constant maintenance things that you have to keep up. When it comes to the stainless steel panels in the shower stalls, it's shower caulking, the actual sealant itself is important to keep that maintained. Everything that we're talking about, whether it's in-op equipment, whether it's equipment that's degraded, it's working, but there's something wrong with it, missing parts, whether it's inside the habitability spaces of a rack or a locker, everything can be properly self-assessed through a zone inspection program. And regardless of how dirty you are, you need to be clean, because we understand what new dirt and old dirt is. This tool right here that I'm showing you is a flashlight. Get flashlights out to the deck plates. Your supervisors, your petty officers in charge of your spaces, your compartments, you only get what you inspect. So make sure, okay, when it comes to your zone inspection program, that you are looking high and low and you are looking deep, because we will definitely be giving you a thorough look at when it comes to cleanliness. Cleanliness is a critical part of your overall score and how well you do when it comes to supply and habitability spaces. When it comes to your zone inspection, it's all about self-assessment, knowing what you're looking for and how to articulate the different checklists, knowing how to document it in your ZITL program and or your CSMP as applicable. And also when it comes to documenting certain things of degradation in your supply 8 o'clocks or your own individual habitability 8 o'clocks when it comes to the particular department that is responsible for that habitability area. So we have our zone inspection or ZITL program that we have, and as we're inspecting ourselves, you may be asking yourself, what should I be looking for? Well, INSURV and any other organization out there, we all have our own checklist. We have the INSURV portal that we'll be discussing. It's a website, and it shows all the different checklists that we will be using and you can use to also self-assess as you're going through and doing your own inspections and going through your weekly zone inspection program. Part of the checklist, it talks about MRC cards, maintenance requirement cards, the procedural guidance in operating your equipment. It talks about different tech manuals, Naval Standard training manuals, other references such as the GIFM, the GSO, all sorts of NAVSUP and other required publications that are documented with the most common discrepancies and things that we look for out there in both supply and habitability spaces. So the checklists are very important. We also have another pretty good piece of gouge that we call the INSURV newsletter. It's a bi-monthly newsletter, and in the January, February 2015 edition, it highlights the supply and habitability area. Again, this comes out every 2 months, and it's the history of the file. It's on the portal. It's for you to download, for you to disseminate, to get out to your troops, to use to help better you in your spaces to get ready for this material inspection. And also another main area of concern when it comes to supply specifically is COSAL validation. COSAL validation is everyone's responsibility when it comes to having the right equipment documented in your skillses or your ship's configuration. I can't tell you how many times from week to week, inspection from inspection that we go on board, we see a lot of equipment that is in the space that is not properly documented in the configuration of the ship. And let me give you an example. Because although we're not providing a 3M inspection, we will know at the end of the 3-day inspection whether or not there is a problem when it comes to your COSAL configuration with your supply equipment, food service, and laundry. You may have recently had new ovens replaced, a newer model of the cosplit ovens, or a different type of a griddle, and the paperwork just hasn't quite caught up yet. So when we look at your configuration and we see that you have a certain model or name brand of that particular equipment, not just food service, again, it could be laundry, that your presses, your washers, your dryers, we're going to do a check. And if we see that the equipment doesn't match what you currently have in your space, or then we'll document it as such. You may even have an ice cream machine on your mess decks. That particular vital piece of equipment. But when we look at your skillses, it's not listed. Okay, so there's a problem with that. You know, what happens when that equipment breaks? You know, you run down to S1, stock control, you try to get some assistance with the APL, and there's no paperwork there for supply personnel to help you. So again, COSAL validation, nameplate data, hand over hand, making sure that the equipment that you have in your space matches your configuration is critical to the success of your INSURV inspection and the material readiness for your overall ship. So here we are, another slide, and I like using pictures here, and you'll see that this particular slide is talking about berthing and sanitary spaces. A little quad slide, so up on the upper left-hand corner it says rack components. You will see there's numerous components when it comes to the rack. When we come on board, your space needs to be ready for us to walk through. For example, the rack lights turned on, the compartment lights turned on, the rack straps already in place, as it shows in the photo here. The actual rack fan turned on, the rack curtains up. All these are components that need to be up and ready, and of course the rack needs to be made very consistent. 2 sheets, 1 pillowcase, and the actual navy blanket folded over. Consistency is the key of getting us in and getting us through your spaces, and of course being clean as well. Make sure that you have nothing underneath the mattress. You have no unauthorized bedding. You have no shoes and gear drift that's laying on top of lockers. So again, although there are numerous rack components that you're seeing in this little screen here, this video, again, just be consistent, be clean, be neat, be ready to present the space. You'll see on the lower left-hand corner of the slide, it shows a shower stall, and you'll see where there's some poor workmanship from the gaps of the flashing, the stainless steel panels. You'll see that some of the sealant is pilling away from the seams. Again, just a nice little picture to show you where there's some degradation when it comes to the sealant. Again, keeping on top of that will ensure that water intrusion doesn't occur or it's reduced significantly. Because once the water starts to penetrate through the stainless steel panels, that's when we start having some some rust, corrosion buildup, so forth and so on. You'll see that on both of the two bottom slides here, you'll see some of the decking. Okay, there's the porcelain decking is the common decking that you'll see in a sanitary space. Again, it's not uncommon to see some cracked tiles, and once the water and stuff penetrates through that tile, that's when it starts to grow, and you start having more and more loose tiles, and then of course all sorts of problems. So whenever you see that there's a problem with your deck, the sooner you get on top of that for the repairs, the better off you'll be. We have a problem out in the fleet with the VCHT, or the components on the back side of the commode hanging free and standing. Again, those need to be inside, clipped away to prevent any damage. We also have loose toilet seats, which is a common discrepancy, as well as sometimes the actual commode itself is not properly secured firmly to the deck. So again, these are all common things that we see during our inspections. Another quad slide, this is specifically food service equipment. You'll see on the upper left-hand corner a very good example of non-PMS. Here it is, a condensing coil, an under-counter refrigerator unit. That's what that is. And it has a lot of lint built up on that. Again, just a perfect example of PMS, basic maintenance, not getting performed. You'll see the compressor there on the other half of the slide. More often than not, we see that the condensers are installed backwards, so therefore there's no way you can even perform the PMS. Right below that, you'll see some unsafe electrical installation, some spliced wiring. You can see the left-hand side there, it shows a toaster. On the other side of the toaster, you can just see a little bit of the beverage machine, but you got two machines all going into the same junction box, which exceeds 15 amps. More of this will be explained in the food service video. Again, we show an incorrect installation of a electric kettle in one of the galleys. Again, the actual combing itself, the handles of the kettles are supposed to be inside the combing and supposed to be 18 inches off the deck. Again, that's an installation issue, and that can be easily fixed as well in due time. Right below that, we have an unsafe griddle, more electrical wiring problems. In this particular case, live wires hanging in the grease drip tray. Again, safety, safety, safety. The supply and habitability gouge. Again, I've already talked about the conducting zone inspections. And most everyone has a zone inspection, but we also find that the commands who are more successful with those include those as part of your command division in the spotlight instruction. Again, the self-assessment for yourself for the zone inspection is very critical, because part of what we do with INSURV is we will give you credit for identifying discrepancies. If we identify a discrepancy of equipment that's in op or not working correctly, then you kind of get double whammied there, because you should have identified it. We know that you can't get everything fixed before we come on board, but if you assess the majority of the degradation, you actually get credit for that. And that's a good thing, because that shows that you have an active zone inspection program, and you're evaluating your spaces, your equipment for material readiness, and you're trying to always be optimally working in the best condition that you possibly can be. We recommend that you include your supply and your habitability material requirements on the unfunded list. Stock up on small items, such as curtains, coat hooks, pillows, linens, food service and laundry repair items, just basic repair parts that you readily need. Non-skid, photoluminescent tape, things of that nature. Again, document what you need, have a few extra things on the side, and it'll go a long ways in getting yourself ready for the inspection. Also, take a look and review the last set of INSURV reports and the current class inspection results. Take a look at what's going on with your sister ships, the other destroyers, the cruisers, the carriers, the amphibs. You know, talk to your shipmates on the waterfront. Talk to your TICOM. Find out how things are going. Again, share information with each other. It's invaluable. It's priceless. One of the best things you can do on the INSURV portal is to pull off and review the check sheets, the Supply and Habitability Inspection Checklist. We find that the ships who break those checklists down to the deck plates, into the different areas, and allow their troops, their sailors to work those, have the best success. Meaning, if you're a storeroom custodian, just give those sailors that portion of the checklist. If you're working in the galley or the laundry, give that portion of the checklist to those sailors and let them assess themselves, let them evaluate themselves, let them understand what it is that we are going to be looking as we're walking through your spaces. Again, have them take ownership of the inspection checklist and their spaces so they better understand what is getting ready to occur during the INSURV inspection. We also have the supply and habitability deliverables. The deliverables is an advanced Excel document format. It's a comprehensive listing of all your supply equipment and your habitability spaces, data points that we need to have prior to the INSURV, at least 2 weeks prior to. Again, we'll provide you that information during our pre-brief, and you'll be able to use that to get yourself ready for the inspection. Read, understand, and enforce the tech manuals of your equipment. Make sure you understand how to operate safely and how to clean your equipment, how to maintain your equipment. Again, when it comes to your grease interceptor hoods, your laundry, your food service equipment, a lot of your maintenance, most of your maintenance is done by engineering. But you need to understand how it operates, how to maintain it, how to clean it. And obviously working hand in hand with engineering and your equipment folks to ensure that the equipment is maintained operable. Engage resources such as the food management team for food service equipment grooms and training. The fleet assist team for laundry, to have them invite them to come on board and take a look at your laundry spaces. Again, they're excellent at grooming and training your sailors and to get yourself up to the operating conditions that you need to be for your spaces. And of course, always, any questions that you might have, just contact your INSURV team and we will be ready to assist you in answering those as needed. The next slide is our INSURV point of contacts listing for supply and habitability, and you'll notice that there is a total of 4 supply officers, to include myself, which make up my entire team. We each have our own regular email address, but we recommend that when you're corresponding with us that you use the INSURV Habitability group email. And by that I mean you can ask any one of us any question and we can get back with you. We're often on the road. We travel east and west coast and overseas. We have laptops. We're able to sync up when we're not doing our inspections to download emails. So if you don't hear from us in about 48 hours, ping us again because sometimes anomalies do occur. But the group email is the best way to get a hold of us because any one of us, whoever gets the email first, can get back with you and answer your questions. I also have on here the actual INSURV web link, and that's the portal where you can pull down all the information that's required to help you better prepare yourselves for INSURV. Now, that pretty much ends the overview of supply and habitability, and now we're ready to get into the videos. The first video that we have for you today is the habitability on how to better prepare yourselves for the HAB portion of the inspection.